welcome back to Cross Stitch the Globe. My name is Stephanie and this is a channel about cross stitch. Normally I'm accompanied by my sister Allison, but as you can see we are filming at my house this week, which means my husband is watching my daughter. So if you hear child sound, she is taken care of. So Allison needed to take another week off. She has not been feeling well and life has been lifing, and so I mean, she was like going to be a trooper and she was trying to figure out a way to film on Sunday. And it was just like, you have a migraine. We do not need to film on Sunday. I was like, I will just figure something out. So, what I thought I would do is clean my whole office yesterday on Sunday and then film today a tour. But after like 2 hours of working on it, it was like very apparent that that was not going to happen. And so what I decided instead was to tackle one of the projects that I have to do to get the office, like one of the small projects that I have, and organize all of my cross stitch fabric. Organize my unorganized cross stitch fabric. This is obviously, well, I don't know if you know me, but this is not all my cross stitch fabric. But when we did our Ask Us Anything, when we hit 5,000 subscribers, one of the questions was like a really long question with like lots of, you know, like, how do you organize things? And like, what do you do for this? And what do you do for that? And the person who asked it, I know who they are and they've been stitching for a really long time. So I think they were curious, but not really looking to probably level up their own stuff, but just wondering what we do. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to show you guys my cross stitch fabric organization system and then actually just do a little chit chat while I get what isn't in there. And also if you like just seeing fabrics, there's a lot of fabrics out here to see. And in the description, I will list all the supplies that I use for this if you're looking for a system. And also I made Allison and I an Amazon storefront because sometimes we'll recommend like this, like we've recommended Magical Cross Stitch like 10 times. So you know, or I use a particular brand of needles that I got on Amazon that actually have held up really well. And one of them just died after doing almost 20,000 stitches. So little products like that we do get from Amazon, I decided to set up an Amazon storefront for us. You can see that in the description as well. Most things we get like are not from Amazon, but the stuff that we do get from Amazon is listed. So I thought we would organize cross stitch fabric together today. And then on Thursday, instead of doing a tutorial, because the next tutorial is how to cut Aida. And Allison is better at that than me because she does it a lot more. I figured for that I could organize all of my paper cross stitch patterns because half of them are organized and half of them are just in a pile, and chit chat with you guys tomorrow on Thursday, and then Allison will be back on Sunday. We do have 3 kinds of videos on our channel. This is a Flosstube extra because it's something we definitely would not have time for in a regular video. Our floss tubes come out on Monday, and in between we do our Flosstube extras every other Monday. If you don't know what a floss tube is, they are very fun deep dives into our personal stitching where we show like all the things we're working on and all the stuff we bought and what we finished. And I have 2 things back from the framers to show you guys on next Monday. So if you've never watched a floss tube, I highly invite you to come and watch ours. We also mention a lot of other channels that are good to check out as well. And then on Thursdays, we do like to come out with short beginner tutorials for beginner cross stitchers. Last week, I showed how I cut linen and even weave by drawing a thread. And that video was really fun to film. And I was worried about filming it and it actually worked out really well. So I was really happy. And I will talk a little bit about that today because some of this stuff is surged, but some of this stuff are offcuts from projects where the offcut had been sitting in the bag, and I'm like finally like gathered them all up yesterday and was like, they need to go in a box. So that's our normal schedule. This week I am going to swap out doing the next tutorial for doing a paper pattern organization video, mostly because it's a really good excuse for me to get this stuff. I don't know how exciting it'll be for you guys, but I always like, you know, peeking through other people's stashes and systems and stuff. So it's fun. All right. So what do I do for cross stitch fabric organization? So in order for my system to make sense, you need to know that I prefer linen my favorite, obviously, you might not be able to tell, but these are all with like one exception, linen. I prefer stitching on linen because I stitch a lot of fancy ladies, and I like to do those on, like, most of my fancy ladies are on hand dyed 28 counts. So because they're hand dyed, they've shrunk a little bit. And fancy ladies, because of the beads, tend to do best on 28 or 32. So I tend to do those on 28. So I have a lot of 28 count. So even though I probably prefer to, like, my preference is probably truly a 32 count, I have so much 28 count that I have a whole box of 28 count linen, and then I have another box that is like half 32 and then has some 36 and 40. I can see 36 without magnification and enjoy stitching on 36 count. It's just because I tend to do more fancy ladies and things like that. It just doesn't make sense for me to stash a lot of 36. So I have some, but if I come across a project that really needs 36 count, I tend to get it for the project specifically. So I have a stash of 36, but not as extent. Like when I sign up for a club or something, most of my clubs have been 28 count. And then I've actually been destashing most of my 40 count. And I'm down to just like some scraps off of other projects and things. I just am at a point in my life, in my eyesight journey, where I can see 40 count without magnification, but it's not very fun. And because I'm almost always stitching in a situation where a child is, maybe they're napping or maybe they're in bed, but like, they're popping up every 10 or 15 minutes. And because I can't really see it anyway, I don't love getting out. I have magnifiers that work well, but I don't love getting them out. And I really can't be in a situation, like I just don't get much done when I have to highly concentrate on just getting to see it. So I do have, I think I figured out I have four 40 count projects that I'm keeping as 40 count projects, and then 2 that I am restarting. So some of the fabric in here is actually pulled from projects where it was either kitted up 40 count and I decided like, I'm not doing that. Or I had started, but I had like, if I had less than 100 stitches of like a 70,000 stitch project, then I'm just going to restart it on a count I can see. And so I'm not destashing like every piece of 40 count, especially not the scraps, but it does not make sense for me to stash up on 40 counts. So that's why most of my stash is 28 count linen. And the vast majority of my stash is 28 and 32 count linen. And then I have some 36 and 40, because it is nice to have it just in case. But I'm at the point in life where I have like figured out that like, it does not make sense for me to start anything big on 40 count. So I have a couple big projects on 36 count and I'm gonna keep going on them and they're fine. And for 36, some of them are 1-stranded and some of them are 2-stranded and they're both fine. But 40, like, these babies are transition lenses. I turned 40 this year. These are transition. I've always been nearsighted and now I need transition lenses, and adding anything on top of that and then being expected to like cater to the whims of a 2-year-old just really don't work for me at this point. I expect later maybe I'll have like, I can get like a setup where I can kind of get cocooned in and spend 2 hours on a higher count, but just right now it doesn't work for me. Okay, so the way that I do my fabric, let me get out an example. Okay, so I have 2 boxes of linen. Then I have a box of Aida where I also keep even weave, but I think I'm going to move the even weave that I have left over to the linen because I don't have a ton of it, but if I'm looking for like 32 or 28 count linen and I see a piece of even weave that is like a scrap that would be better, I should have that there. So I think I'll move that today. And then then that means I'll have a box that's just Aida and it's just like a quarter full and it doesn't even really need its own box. So I don't really need like a whole box for Aida, but because I already have the box, I'll leave it. But I used to have a lot more even weave, and then I did a trade with someone where I traded all my even weave for all their linen, so I don't really need that much anymore, but I do have it. And now that I'm playing around with dyeing fabrics and stuff, and I have a lot of like thrift store and Facebook Marketplace, like old Ada that will be fun to dye, then it will be fun to have it like where I can see the colors, especially as I get scraps of that and stuff. So I don't need to get rid of it, but I just don't have a ton of it. All right, so this is how the boxes look. So okay, so I have 3 of these, and like I said, 2 are full and one's like a third full maybe. And these are comic book boxes, so they're great for keeping the stuff that's inside of them safe from like obviously this is fabric. It's not gonna keep too much water out, but it keeps like some moisture out, but then also it mostly keeps like sunlight out. And I have my fabric on these comic book boards, and then I use plastic alligator clips to clip the fabric on, and I write at the top the count, the fabric kind, the maker, the colorway, and then the size that I have. So this is the box that I have that is 32, 36, and 40, and the 36 starts back here because I really am like, just, you know, like eyesight craziness. I want to be able to see when I'm stitching. So now I don't have these organized by color or dye or anything like that. I just have it where all the 32s are the same, and like all the 32s that are just scraps are up here, and then fat 8s and then fat quarters, and I don't stash fat halves or anything like that, but if I had bigger cuts they would go behind the fat quarter. So like for example, this one says 32 count, picture this flesh glacier fat quarter, and this was actually a fat quarter that was given to me in that trade, which is why I have more 32 count too. So even though I have a mix of like Lakeside Linen, Oak Crown Studios, Picture This Plus, Bestitch Me, Fiberlicious, like they're all kind of Fiber on a Whim, they're all just kind of in there. So like if I were to say like what do I need a 32 count fat quarter, then I'm just kind of looking for colors in the size section that I need, which, you know, it's not like I don't need like a Dewey Decimal System. It's not that much fabric. I can look through and see like, oh, well, that's a blue, that's a green, that's purple, you know, you can't really see it, but okay, so that's how I do them. And the one that's Ada, I'm gonna just totally overhaul it because first of all, I think what I'm gonna do, this is a gridded Lugano that I'm gonna put in the other box. So like a lot of these Adas are craft store or thrift store Adas that I had gotten out of their containers, and now when I get thrift store Ada that or any fabric that comes in like an envelope or something, I don't get it out. But also like I want to dye a lot of these, and so they don't need to be sitting here on their own boards, but I don't want to really get rid of them. I have a couple of nicer pieces of hand-dyed Ada. Maybe I should move this. Okay, so sorry, one second. Okay, so everything that's left in here is like thrift store, Child's Craft, Ada, or stuff from family workplaces that are really old. I think I'm just gonna take this nice hand-dyed stuff that I do want to use and move it to the front of my 28 count box, so it's like there. So I'm just moving 2 like some tropical Ada, some tropical stitches Ada, and some Witch's Garden Crafts Ada. Like they're pretty colors, I just haven't, because I never go into my Ada box, I don't think when I'm going to pull something. And if I was going to pull a piece of linen and I saw this and then, you know, actually that would be a better color for this project, then I totally would use it. So I'm gonna put it in my 28 count box. so that it will actually get pulled. Okay, so now this is my 20 and under. And I will just deal with Ada, like figuring it out later. But as you can see, I have a lot of 28. So even in situations where I'm maybe more likely to pull a 32, a lot of times maybe I have a better color in 28. So, all right. Oh, and I'm gonna put this in with the 28s too. So this is a gridded Lugana that I'll just put it in the very back. And it's not that I don't do any projects on Ada. I actually have 2 projects that I'm working on pretty consistently that are on navy. Zweigart Ada. It's just that because when I go to kit my projects and I'm thinking like I want something pretty, I almost never go to that box. So this will make it easier for those to get pulled. Okay. And then when I'm done with a piece like this, then when I take a piece out, I will take the board that I used and put it in the back of the box so that I can save it for next time I need one so that I recycle them, because you don't need a brand new one every time. All right, so now it's time to actually organize. So here are the comic book boards, and they're not expensive. I just was looking yesterday when I was making our page, and they were even less expensive than I remembered. Not that the price went down, just so like, you know, everything seems expensive right now. So I was like, oh, that's reasonable. And then these are the plastic alligator clips that I use. And these, so the boards, when I remember that I want to reuse the boards, I can use them like 4 times pretty easily. Because you want it to be on the top, and obviously you can just flip it around and stuff. But the alligator clips can be used indefinitely until you break them, but I have a bad habit of sometimes pulling them out and putting them in projects to help deal with excess fabric, and then they break. So, because they're not really designed for that. I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm pulling them out to put in project bags, so I've been trying to get more other things. I bought some stuff like, I bought some magnetic cable ties and some spoolies, and I already used Wonder Clips to test, to do a video on like what to do with excess fabric, like after I've tested more things than just ignoring it. Wonder Clips and these alligator clips, because these alligator clips suck. All right. So the way I actually do the organization is once I have like a pile built up, then I will go in and do this. I don't do this every time like one piece of fabric comes in, obviously. I will just stick like fabric in the top until it kind of piles over. And then a lot of these scraps were sitting in project bags where I had cut off the excess of the project but didn't remove it from the bag because I didn't want to forget what the fabric was. And then when I did the how to cut fabric by drawing a thread, and I cut some pieces off, I was like, okay, it's time to get these all organized, because now I knew there were like 3 pieces just sitting in bags. All right. If I get a piece of fabric in the mail and I put it right in a project bag because it's going to be started, I keep the tag. But if it's going to be put in these boxes, I like to take these off because I don't want the residue on the fabric for that long, but it does pain me to do that. Sometimes I'll keep the sticker, but if it's like pinned or stapled on, then I won't. Okay, so this is okay, so 1 2 3 Stitch says that this is 1/8 of the yard. It is, and it's a 9x13, so it's a fat 16th. So we did a video on like fabric names and fabric measurements, and I noticed after doing that video that a lot of times 1 2 3 Stitch has their stuff labeled kind of funny. So it says 9x13, and 9x13 is like 100% is a fat 16th. Okay, so I'm gonna put on here, I'm gonna put This is 28 count linen from Lakeside Linen. It's actually Lakeside Linens, but I never say that. Lakeside Linens in the color Sand Dune. And it's a fat 16th. So that's what I'll write on there because it's a sticker. I went ahead and kept it. Now, I'm not super diligent about like making sure these are like put on here like the best way to not wrinkle or anything. And I'll just get out a pile of these clips. I'm gonna go through a lot of them and I don't need to crinkle that every time. Okay, so if the piece isn't very big, I'll just use 2. When it gets to be a whole fat quarter, then I will a lot of times do 4. And what I'm gonna do is just do all of these, and when all of them are on boards, then I'll put them in the boxes. So I have seen people, I know I found out about these boards from someone on Flosstube. I don't remember exactly who, and I know multiple people use them. And I know I found out about these alligator clips from Flosstube. Some people will use like a pin, like I don't know if they're called dressmaker's pins. They're the ones that are flat and have like a square head instead to pin them together, which is also works. And then the boxes, I know I found those on my own because I was looking for boxes that would store these boards because these are like acid free and they're just like big enough but not too big. But I have since I started using them, seen other people using them. So, okay, so I have 2 of these. So this is the exact same thing. All right. And this is Lakeside Linen that I ordered in November of 2023 that came like last month. So I don't remember if I bought it with a project in mind, but if I bought it with a project in mind, that project has been started on something else, clearly. But it's never bad to have a stash of Lakeside Linen in pretty colors that you know you'll use. Okay, and my handwriting's not great, but I know what it says. So I have, when I've destashed fabric, just destashed them on these boards because I don't keep the tags for everything. So people kind of just had to trust me that the fabric was what I said that it was, but I didn't get any complaints. So I think people understand, like, I'm just throwing away the tags. It's not like, because, you know, keeping something with adhesive on there is not great. Now I could probably, if it's stapled on, probably leave it on and just not take that part off, and that would probably be fine. And even a little bit easier. So I might do that going forward. Talking myself out of, it's always easy to talk myself out of having extra work. Okay, so even though these are the same fabric, the same size, I put them on separate boards because my brain, when I'm going through, will not process that I have 2 of them. And if I want to do, like if I'm looking for something where I want to do it on the same fabric, my brain won't process that those are the same. Okay, now this says 1/8 yard, 12 by 17. So this is actually a fat 8. Those are fat 16s. This is Ancient by Pictureless Plus. And I bought this to do Turkey Day on it, but then I decided I want to do Turkey Day on a different fabric that I will show you guys when I start it. But this is not really stash. So what I do is, I know I want to do October 31st by Carriage House Samplings on this next year. My friend gave me the pattern, and since I already had this, and I was like, well, that's the call for like a lot of cottage garden samplings. Yes. And I looked and because I already want to do that pattern, and it was, so I'm going to save it, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in my box, and I'll show you guys what I do. So I'm going to write 28 count linen, picture this plus, that's PTP, Ancient, fat 1/8. Okay, so on the board I wrote 28 count linen, by a picture this plus, ancient, fat eighth, and then I wrote October 31st. So when I'm flipping through this, my fabrics, if I see this and I'm looking for fabric for something else, I'll know I have this earmarked for October 31st. But the reason I don't want to just stick it in a project bag is that sometimes something will come along that is better, and you want to make you might be like, well, I could do October 31st, would look good on a lot of fabrics, but this other project that I want to do would only look good on this one or something. So I want to note it, but I don't want to leave this fabric in a bag for a year just in case I do need it more. And so that's kind of the best of both worlds, because some of this fabric is stuff that I'm pulling out of project bags that where I had like stashed 40 count for the project, and then it's been sitting in a bag, but I decided I don't want to use that for that project anymore. But also, like, you know, yes, some fabrics should be saved for some specific projects, but maybe not in a way where you will literally forget about them or have no access to them. Okay, so this is Oak Crown Studio Butterscotch. This is my fabric of the month from October. So this is 28 count. Oh, it's so pretty. It's very different than most of the ones I got from her. So, and she does like really big descriptions of what she thinks the fabric will look good on. And okay, I'm gonna go ahead and leave that tag on today, and we'll see how I feel about it later, because it's a big staple on tag. Okay, so 28 count linen, Oak Crown, butterscotch, and then if it was a fabric of the month, I will put FOTM, and that will help me know later. One, when we're filming Flosstube, sometimes it's good to tell people, but two, like, it may not be available. So if I really like if I get it out and I really like using it, I might want to investigate, is this a color I can use for anything else? But sometimes fabric of the months are not always made publicly available. So that's how I'll just notate that for myself. Okay. This piece of fabric is so pretty. And like, she just really specializes in fabrics that are, you know, like, not necessarily more vibrant. She definitely has like bright colorways and, you know, more saturated colors, but also just like, you know, the types of projects that a lot of times look good on her fabric, or that her fabric is dyed specifically for, like Fancy Ladies, or like they just hosted the Autumn Lane Stitchery Retreat. I've never stitched anything by Autumn Lane Stitchery, but like they have those like Halloween Town pieces. And so, but she also does a lot of chatelaines and is dyeing some fabrics more for that. But this is such a like sampler color. I mean, yes, other things would look good on it, but it's such a sampler color. It was so not what I expected, but since I have so many really vibrant colors from her, it was a great, because like these three are other fabrics of the month I got from that club this year. And I did put it on pause because I'm going to I'm going to stitch crown next year unless something happens, and I don't want to be I'm going to get all my stuff organized so I can use it, but I don't want to be stashing up anything before then. So all right, so this one is okay. So this one is so pretty. Woo. And I actually have a particular project in mind for this one too, that is not a project that I even own or I'm thinking of starting in the next year. So I'm going to write Mermaids of the Deep Blue, but I don't even have that pattern. So if something else comes up that's perfect for it, then I will use it. But I think that pattern would look really good on it, and I want to stitch that eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and write that on here so I don't, it's such a special piece that I don't want to use it unless I need, unless what it would look like. I don't want to be like, oh, I need green, let me take the top half of this. So, okay, Oak Crown. This is called Summer Yeah, this piece is just called Summer. And it was a fabric of the month. And I have a fat quarter and Mermaids of the Deep is what I'm tentatively gonna hold this for. But, you know, there's lots of mermaids in the world, and like I've said on this channel before, I don't actually like mermaids in real life, but I do like stitching on them. I don't know. But I also didn't like very prim things before this, and now I want to do, like, you know, there's a lot of types of styles that are not my main style that I like. This is kind of more my main, like, woodsy, like photography, like vibe, but you know, you got a sampler thrown in there every once in a while. Okay, so I am, these fat quarters, I am clipping with 4 clips because it's harder to keep them on the board if you just do the top. But if you decide to do this and you want to experiment with 2, have at it. All right, so this one is called Mana Potion, and it was from her, and it is like, so there were these two went together. It was Healing Potion and Mana Potion, and I don't do Dungeons and Dragons, so I don't know the difference. And looking at these 2 fabrics, they're very close, but definitely, I mean, they are different colorways, but they're very close too. All right. There is a, like, I already started Stargazer on Vintage Hatching Mocha, but she would look good on this. All right, 28 count linen, Oak Crown, Mana Potion, okay. If I decide to take all that Ada that is like not special, like not hand-dyed, just like generic Charles Crafty Ada, and put it in a bag or something, that will open up a lot of more boards before I have to buy another one. When I get to the fabric that I dyed, that I have to organize, I'll show you guys. I had so much fun doing it. Like, it's taking everything in my power not to just dye every piece of fabric I have, because like I could do that, like not these obviously, but like all the thrift store and leftover white Ada and stuff. But it's like, if I do that, then I will just I'll have really pretty colors, but I won't have anything with a particular project that I need. And then when the project time comes, I'll be, you know, I'll have to go buy new white Ada to dye it if I want to do that. So I'm trying to save it till I actually have a need for it. Okay, 28 count linen, Oak Crown, Healing Potion, fabric of the month, and fat quarter. Now, I really like Oak Crown Studio fabric. It's so pretty. I have had a hard time starting things on it because it's so pretty. It feels like it should be saved for something really special. So I need to break out of that habit, because I definitely want to rejoin the club next summer after, but also, like, you know, I also should just work on the whips I have, because once I get all the, like, if I had every piece of spare fabric out of every project bag, you know, because a lot of projects, I cut a lot of projects beforehand, but some cut projects I don't. And then, you know, you've got half a fat quarter hanging out in a bunch of different bags. So it's, you know, do I need more fabric? No, but it's so pretty. Okay, so here's one of those where I'm gonna redo the project on different fabric. This was my start on Shores of Hawkwood Hollow. This is 40 count wheat. It's such a pretty fabric. I just know I'm not gonna stitch 70,000 stitches on this 40 count fabric. Like, I just know I'm just not. So I decided to take it out of the bag, put this in my box in case I want to start something smaller on this color. And then, and that's another reason I don't need to have a large 40 count stash, because if I'm doing mostly like smalls on 40 count, well, the like 4 fat quarters I have of it will last me forever. Okay, so this is 40 count linen. Wheat is fiber on a whim, or picture this was. It's fiber on a whim, but I'll write or, and then I'll look it up later. Because I know it for a fact it's wheat. And it's a fat quarter. And it has a tiny bit, like it has like 30 stitches on it that I will frog when I decide to do something on this. I'm making some progress. So I'm going to film for about an hour today. So however much I get done in that time is what will get done. I'm not going to hold you guys forever. Oh, here's the start I had on, this is doubloon, picture this plus doubloon. And it's so pretty, but I'm just going to do smaller things on it. But this was my start of Village of Hawthorne Hollow, but I am going to restart that on fabric that I already have. That is a 28 count, which will, yes, be huge, but that's okay. Because it's just not going to get done. Like, I started this last year. I really like the pattern, but I've never wanted to pick it up because I just don't want to sit there and try to find holes that I can't see. 40 count linen. Blue. Fat quarter. And, or maybe, you know, maybe something will change about my life and I'll be excited to look through magnifiers. I just have a hard time seeing that would be in the next couple of years because I don't want to wear contacts, and putting lenses over my glasses is not great. And then if I don't have my glasses in, but I'm wearing the magnifiers, then I can't see my pattern. So I know there's like tabletop magnifiers that you just put over your stitching, and those do look appealing when I have like a less fragile situation. Okay, so this is the 40 count fabric that I got last year for Pear Hill by the Artsy Housewife. And it's so pretty, but that pattern is big and I'm just not stitching that on 40 count. It's like 20,000 stitches. The projects that I have currently on 40 count. So I have Pretty Pumpkins by Alforce Embroidery. I have the Spanish Sampler I have La Maison by the Spanish Stitcher. Blackbird by Blackbird Designs. And Garden of Zig by Ink Circles are all on 40 count, and they all have a lot left, and I have to finish one of them before I'm allowed to start anything else on 40 count. All right, this is 40 count linen. Cream. Oh, Zweigart. Cream. And fat quarter. Okay. And it's really pretty. The 40 count linen that I sold, I probably would have put this up for sale too if I had remembered that it was sitting there in a bag and I wasn't going to use it. But going through the bags this weekend was good for me. And then I might find, if I find anything else like this, when I am, like in December when we film our wet parade, I think I got out all the fabric scraps and stuff, but if there's anything left, I want to grab it. I don't want to do that. I'm wearing lipstick. I don't want to put things in my mouth and then put them on my fabric. Okay. Now, this were two of the pieces that I cut on that how to cut linen by by pulling a thread video. So they are just ready to go. And then, okay, this was a fat quarter of the Stitch Me Gray Magic. And I decided to use some of it for Water Lily by Jed X Stitch, Water Lily Dragon. But I didn't have time to like put it away right. So I kept the board because I knew I was going to use the whole thing. So I got to change the board to leftovers. And leftovers doesn't mean like only scraps, but it just means like you're going to have to see, Stephanie, you're going to have to check because I don't have the exact measurements. Now, because I cut these by pulling a thread, I know that these cuts are like squared up. So I know these will be good like pieces to use, and they're like, this one is over a fat 1/8. So that will be a really good piece to have. Okay. But I put them back kind of sloppily and I need to fix it. Okay, this is another scrap we cut in that video. This is 28 count, but this is actually an even weave. This is Witch's Garden Crafts Lavender Mist. It's so pretty. And it's not big scrap, but you know something great will go on there for like a Halloween piece. And I know the cuts are good on it, so I will make a board for this. Now we're just down to like funny size scraps for the most part. Okay, so this piece doesn't really fit like the normal way. And I could like measure all of these and write out exactly what they are, but that would just be too much work. Okay, this is 14 count Zweigart Ada, and for the most part, I think this is squared up. Yes, okay, so this is squared up. So I'm not gonna worry about it being like, you know, when it comes time to, if I want a blue scrap of Ada, I can measure it, but all right, 14 count. And I'm trying to think of other people who've had like really great organizational videos. Rachel Ray did one where her system is really cool. She like takes a picture of each piece of fabric that she has and has a photo album on her phone, and then she rolls each piece up as like almost like not wallpaper, almost like wrapping paper, and then they stay completely in the dark all the time, and she can't like flip through them or look at them. She can only flip through them on her phone, which is like a very cool system, except for the fact that I really like looking at the fabric. Like, I don't just flip through them for fun very much, but I do like when I'm like looking for inspiration for a piece being able to go and like actually see them physically and touch them. All right, so that's the scrap of Ada. All right, now I've got some tiny scraps. Okay, so this is, let's see, are all these the same? Yes, okay. These scraps are all macchiato from the Stitch Me because I did two different projects on macchiato, and I, for some reason, decided that this was important to save. I don't know. But anyway, these other two are like much more like usable sizes. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but it's not the funniest scrap I don't think I have in here. Okay. 28 count. And I actually did the piece that I did that I showed on our last floss tube that is framed hemlock from the Magical Cross Stitch book. And I did get those up on the wall yesterday. So I started my murder wall. It only has 3 pieces up now, and until the Make It Murder style pieces are up, it's gonna look kind of bare, but it's cool. Like right back there. All right, so this is a bunch of leftovers of the same fabric. Oh, this is 28 count Tropical Stitches presentation, and it's like, if I ever need to do a bell pull, this one would be perfect. If it's wide enough. There are some bell pulls that are pretty skinny though. And this color presentation, I'm really loving it. I'm doing Within a Dream by the Artsy Housewife on it. And it is such a good, it's such a good neutral. The modeling is so light, just enough to be like dynamic without getting in the way, because the piece is pretty busy and stitch heavy. So like any modeling would either get lost or would kind of overwhelm the piece. All right, so there we got that. Now, this is the funniest scrap that I saved. Okay. This is ridiculous. This is, and it's not even square because when I cut it, I didn't know how to do that yet. I cut it last September, so I didn't draw a thread to cut it. So it's not even a 100% straight cut. Okay, let me get all this. Ugh. Okay. This is Fox and Rabbit Baked Clay. So it is a great, like, beloved colorway and it's just a joy to stitch on. I've done a ton of things on it. I just finished that stocking, that little, the MKISS Creation stocking. I just finished it on a scrap of this, but, and actually the sampler that's right like above Yellow Submarine is on this. But I didn't even know how to cut straight when I cut this last September probably. So look how diagonal that cut was. That's why it's really important to cut your stuff straight. Some people were saying they cut, like they don't do it by drawing a thread, they do it with a rotary cutter, and that would be good if you can line it up straight to begin with. But if you don't, then you could easily just do a straight line that is still diagonal and not true. And then, so, but I'm glad, because like if I was looking at this and I would think this piece was bigger than it really is. The stitched area on this scrap is so tiny. Like, this is not really worth keeping. But, okay, okay, I don't know. I'm going to put that at the end. I probably will save it, but this is where it would be good just to have like like a bag of like 28 count scraps. Because like if I ever decided to do a project where I sewed a bunch of 28 count together, this would look like this would be great in there. But okay, so this is Fiberlicious Yummy. No, this is Forbidden Fiber Co. Mixed Berry, and this is 32 count. And I had a fat eighth of it. This is less than a fat 16th because the piece I did was bigger than a fat eighth. And I was really sad because I thought there's like 2 pieces and I thought I could maybe fit them both on this piece of fabric, but I can't. And the one that I got this on is back from the framers and it's on the wall and it looks really good. Okay, so this is 32 count linen. Forbidden Fiber Co. Mixed Berry. Leftovers. Okay, I got this piece in like a grab bag from Forbidden Fiber Co. of like different, like you could tell her like linen or Ada, and then she sent you like a bunch of different ones. Like I think I got 4 different pieces in here, but like the counts were like crazy. So, but I think most of what I got was 32 count, and then I got a couple, like I got 3 32s, I think, and 1 40. And I am stitching on the 40, and I do like it. It is pretty. It's just the 4 things that I have left on 40 count are all smaller-ish. I think the one that I have that's not really a small, that's a little bit bigger of a sampler, is still a small, on the small side for a sampler. I really liked doing monochromatic black on this fabric because there's like purple in it. It really does look like the mixed berry frozen berries, like where you get some darker purples and blues from the blueberries or raspberries or anything else they decide to mix in. So the little like pops of black that's maybe would be visible through the thread just look like they're that darker dye. All right, this is a leftover piece of 32 count blue vintage whisper by Zweigart. This is the cut I took off of Touching the Autumn Sky. All right, and I love this fabric. I just started Seaside Kingdom on the same fabric, and I'm also doing Coastal Cola on this fabric. I love this fabric. 32 count. Zweigart. It's a printed one. So even though you get the good modeling and stuff, it is like a true 32. And this is a good size leftover cut of it. Something good will fit on there. It's such a good summer, fall, spring sky. I think for winter sky I want something like gloomier, but just for those seasons, like anything that's not winter, it's such a good sky. All right, this is okay, this is 20. I was like, it can only be one thing, but let me just double check. This is 28 count platinum by Zweigart. This is the offcut of the Whimsy Witch's Angry House by Teresa Kogut that I'm doing. And I love this fabric. I love the project that I'm stitching on it. And I also love the fabric in general. So there will be something to put on this. And it will be so pretty. Okay. I know there's somebody out there, I can't remember who it is, who does like a ton of stuff on platinum and absolutely loves platinum, and it's like their favorite neutral, which it's not modeled really at all, but it's so pretty. I do like modeling because besides the fact that I like just the way it looks, I also feel like if my kids stain my projects like in some small way, will be easier to hide if the fabric isn't like stark and plain. But I feel like there may be a tiny bit, but for the most part there's not. But this fabric is too beautiful. Okay. This is, okay, this is 40 count, Lakeside Linen Maple Sugar. I love this fabric. I've done multiple projects on this fabric, and this is the 140 count that I have a sampler still going on it. But I was gonna restart RC Housewives Pink Barn on this, and because I started it on as the call for, which was a Witchell, and I just hated it. And then I pulled this to restart it because it's really close to it, but I'm not. That pattern has like 16,000 stitches. I'm just not doing it on 40 count. So not gonna happen. So I'm gonna put this back in the box to be available for something smaller. And because this is like half of a fat quarter, it's just leftovers. I know at some point I won't try to destash it. So I know at some point I will use it. I'm just not today, Satan. Just kidding. Just not today, Lakeside Linen. There was a fight on Real Housewives of New York about the phrase "not today, Satan." It was so funny. It's not the reboot's not good, but I will still watch it. Oh, this is Dorit's drink order on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That's what my sweatshirt is today. And the trailer looks good, but Beverly Hills has a way of always being so infuriating and disappointing by the end of the season. So I don't know if Kyle's not going to be honest with us. I don't know. But right now, Salt Lake City's hitting. Sister Wives. Sister Wives isn't hitting because it doesn't know how to hit. Like, it's a very boring show, but I love every second of it and have watched it every season since it first started. So that means I've watched it for like 1 million hours. And then Potomac is back. Potomac is doing good. So I don't watch Orange County. I do listen to recaps of Orange County, but I don't watch Orange County. But I hear it had a good season. So New York just seems kind of boring, like, in the meantime. Okay, so I'm going to make an exception to my rule where I put different pieces on different boards because these are so I started the pumpkin house. I didn't do very much. I just started it to start it. But this is called Winter Sky. It's 32 count. It's by Lakeside Linen. And I started pumpkin house on this fabric. And right now, Liz Matthews has 3 of the houses out. So I already knew I was going to start Seaside next year for my birthday. And then that's like the summer one. And I'm already started pumpkin house on this. And oh, winter. She doesn't have a winter one out yet, but my guess is she will. So I'm going to keep all of these pieces together for this project because replacing them would be very difficult. But if something happens and I need to use one for something else, I think I technically have like one extra. And I also could do 1 or 2 in like a different color blue because the blues are not, I don't think they're the same call for on all. But for right now, I'm just going to, I have a lot of blue fabric. I'm just going to leave these as like for this project. So this is 32 count linen, Lakeside Linens, Winter Sky. And I have 2 fat 8s, 1 fat 16th. I don't think the 16th is big enough, but I don't want to mess with it at all. So I'm just going to put Liz Matthews houses on here and just be like, don't touch these until you know what you're doing for that. And I also told, like, I don't remember where I said this, but I really like this pumpkin house. I really like Seaside House. Allison finished Pumpkin House. It's so good up close. A lot of the things Allison has stitched, once I see them up close, I'm like, oh, I think I would like to stitch that too, which you'll hear more about in a minute. But anyway, I knew I wanted to do Seaside House too. Spring House, I don't love it. So if the winter house is really good, then I will probably eventually over the next 20 years do all four. But if the winter house isn't one that I'm like dying to do, then I'll probably just do fall and summer. But I just want to leave those intact for now. All right, next, this is this piece of tea-dyed Ada Allison gave me for a project that I'm going to hold on to it, but I'm not going to put it in my boxes with these knives. And then, okay, then last two things to organize. So I showed on Instagram me dyeing fabric, but I never showed you guys what those look like. So this is the one that came out that I ultimately did decide to start, the Scorpion and the Frog by Jet X Stitch. This is the one I decided to use, and this is the leftovers from that. This is a DMC Ada that felt so plasticky, but linen. But after dyeing it, it's so soft. Now, it's still very loose, but it's not nearly as loose as it was. And I could really, and I'm loving stitching on it. So I could really see a world in which I love going to thrift stores. I thrift, you know, like, I could see a world in which I thrift and dye a lot of linens for myself. But again, I have a good fabric stash, so it's not like I'm like, I don't need to go out and do that. That would just be fun. But I could see like next time I have a project wanting to dye fabric for myself. All right, so this is 28 count linen. But it also makes me happy because when I do find thrift store or Facebook marketplace stuff, knowing like, oh, if I dyed it, it will make it much more pleasant. 28 count linen, DMC brand. I think DMC and Charles Craft are the same manufacturer, but I don't know for sure. I might be making that up. Okay, I'm gonna say self-dyed. And I don't, in my head I'm calling this pickle juice, but like I don't want to say that because I could never replicate that. And then this is a leftover piece, and I have nothing in mind for it. And I did cut it like the one thing that I learned about hand dyeing is it really did, and I'll show you guys on the next piece, it really did just destroy the unserged edges of this fabric. And it's okay, like it didn't hurt the actual fabric once I got rid of the, like once I got it down to like I cut that off, like I cut the damage off, and what's left over is great. But next time I would like to, like if I'm going to do a big batch, I would like to serge it, and I would like to attempt to do it in the washer. I think that'd be fun, because the thing that I was really paranoid about was continuing to rinse it until it ran clear, and that took a really long time. And I think it'd be more efficient to do it in the washer, but it just shriveled up the edges, and I didn't cut this off because until I stitch on it, what's the point of putting it off? But this is the last piece of fabric I need to organize. But look at that. So this other piece came out yellower, but then once I decided that this was going to be the Scorpion and the Frog, then I said, you know what? If I make this a little more green, this will be perfect for the Yule Goddess. Because if you guys have seen Allison's, she did hers on jalapeno. And it's like a bright green like this, and it looks so good. So the called for is a Weeks that's more olivey, but hers looks so good on jalapeno. I'm like, I'm going to do that. So I just ran it through a little more green, and now it's more of a green, vibrant, like lime green yellow. So I have a full fat quarter. I definitely have enough. I'm not going to trim the edges off until it's time to stitch on it, and I'm not going to start that this year. But I do think I'm going to put that on my plans for next year. All right, so this is 28 count linen, DMC, self-dyed, fat quarter, Yule Goddess. And that's the Tiny Modernist Yule Goddess. So that's the last board I have to make today. Okay. And I have one more of this DMC brand fat quarter. It's actually like a little bit bigger than a fat quarter, I think, which was good because, again, I lost probably half an inch total. I probably lost 1/4 of an inch on both sides from the just like disasters on the edges that I think would be, like they say, you know, I don't remember if Rit Dye says to serge your edges, or if another cross stitch like tutorial or something that I read said that, but they were right. All right, so the cool thing is we're at about almost an hour. By the time I cut out, there's a few spots I need to cut out, but I think when I do that, we'll be pretty close to an hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this fabric in the boxes, and then I'll let you guys go. Okay, so 28 fat quarter, 28 leftover, 32. I'm just gonna put everything that goes in the 32 box, if it's 32 and above, together for now, and resort it when I am done with the 28 count, because obviously most of this is 28 count. 40, 40, 40, and these are all, okay, these are 28 count fat quarters. Okay, these are my 28 count fat quarters, 5 of them, fat 8th, fat 16th, 28 count leftovers, 14 count. And I'm just gonna slip this even weave in with my linen because I have such little of it left that I should, if I want to use it, I should just use it, and I will never go to another box for it. Okay, so all right. Okay. So I'm gonna stick this 14 count Aida at the very front. And then I have a leftovers section. So the leftovers are at the front, because what I don't want to do is cut into a fat quarter, a fat 1/8, or anything if one of the leftovers would actually be a better, like obviously I want the piece of fabric that's right if there's like a color situation, but if I'm picking between like a lot of basic neutrals, then I want to go to the leftovers first and get the smallest piece that will work and save the bigger cuts. Ooh, my 28 count box is full. Okay, and then I'm gonna go to the 16ths. I don't actually have any 16ths in stash, so that will go at the front of the measured sections, and then 8ths go behind them. And I do have some other 8ths. Ooh, this box. Maybe it was a mistake to put the 8s in here, but I want to pull from them when I see them. It's just a reminder, Stephanie does not need to buy fabric. Okay. Okay, and then these are fat quarters. And I don't have any fat 8ths or fat halves. I'll show you guys what I've done. I want this Lugana to be the last one in there. Because if I come up with a project where I want 28 count easy grid, I want to know exactly where it is. And I won't ever pick it if what I really need is like a hand dyed or printed or something, but like neutral or colorful piece. Okay. All right. So all those are in there. Now I only have one more fat quarter from my Fabric of the Month Club coming, and then I don't have any more fabric on the way. I stopped putting things that are for projects in bags. So a lot of this stuff is earmarked for projects, but there is fabric in those bags that needs to be cut off when the project is over. Now, I have a lot more room in this box, but still, I don't need to buy fabric. Okay. Let's do this. The 40 count back quarters are going to go in the back, the very back, and then that's a 40 count leftover, and the rest of this is 32. Okay. So I have 5 full fat quarters now that I've pulled those 2 out of projects of 40 count. 2 things of leftovers, and I know that I have another piece of a leftover in one of the projects, or I will have a good size leftover in one of the projects once I get to some place where I can confidently cut it. And all the 40 count I have left, I'll show you. This is my entire 40 count stash, except for like a pale green that's got, that's in my bag. So those are the ones you saw. And then I have these like really pretty neutrals. And then a couple things of leftovers. So if I really need to do a 40 count, I will be fine. But also don't be surprised if I'm like, at some point destashing, like, oh, you need to frog 30 stitches out of this, but then it's yours. Oh. See this 30 count MCG Textiles Belgium linen, that is a perfect candidate for actually getting dyed instead of stitched on, but I'm not going to take it out yet. Okay, I know this video is not the most exciting, but it is actually helping me tremendously get this stuff done. So, to what extent you guys have enjoyed it, thank you for allowing me to do this today. The free Christmas patterns video will come in 2 weeks. I have all of mine done because Allison had a migraine. She wasn't able to finish getting hers together, but we are going to record that in 2 weeks, so that will be out the 25th, I think. Or whatever day that week is. If the 25th is a Monday, then that is Sunday, and that means we're recording it that day. All right, and then I'm gonna put these in the fat 16th section, but it doesn't really matter because I'm not gonna be touching them. And this goes at the very front of this box because this is the smallest count. There's 30 count in this box, but I need to keep that in mind that I have that. Okay, so now this 30 to 40 count is almost full. Like I could probably fit 3 more fat quarters in there, but anyway, I don't need fabric. I don't need any fabric. And if I do need fabric, I certainly have enough thrift store fabric that I could dye something really beautiful, which is why I went ahead and dyed that for that Jet X stitch, because I was like, the color is really beautiful, but I know I can dye bright yellow, and it was so much fun. So thank you for organizing my fabric with me today, and I wonder really if there's like 4 people left. If you made it to this point in the video, leave any cleaning related emoji. That will be our secret language, that you actually made it and watched me organize for an hour. Let me know if you organized something or stitched something, what you were working on during this time. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to know it. And subscribe if you're not subscribed and you made it to this point. I'm skeptical that anybody's left that is not subscribed that made it to the end of this video. But if you aren't subscribed, we do have our Flosstube will be out next Monday, and then the Monday after that will be our free Christmas patterns video. And then on this Thursday, you get to watch me do this exact thing with paper patterns. And when like 2 people click on that video, I'll know that I'll know why. But anyway, it's also totally fun. Anybody who like watched it to see what my system is and then ducked out when I started organizing is also fine. All right. Thank you guys so much. Allison will be back a week from also move back on our next floss tube. As of right now, that's the plan. And yeah, let me know in your comments what you worked on. If you have your own organizational system, I'd love to know. If you think I'm going to have too wrinkled fabric and I will just hate this in a couple years, let me know. Although I do really like this system, and I'm obviously not moving all that fabric to something else. And all right. Bye guys.